Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Investing Bros. I'm so excited to get the show going today. This is the show we go live every single weekday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk Bitcoin, we talk crypto, we talk stocks, we talk everything that you need to know about investing, and we got a lot to unpack today. Despite the fact that the Bitcoin price and other cryptos are kind of boring and moving sideways, we're going to cover why that might be, because Silvergate a week ago crashed the market and still might have some large control over that. Also, we have some interesting news coming from Grayscale. In case you guys are newer, Grayscale has been trying to set up a spot Bitcoin ETF for a while now, but the SEC and Gary Gensler keeps shutting them down. Well, they have a new defense and they have a new thing they're going to try in court to get that approved maybe sometime this summer. Make sure you watch the entire show because that would be massive for Bitcoin and the crypto space. I am joined this morning not by T-Shroom because he is still on his cruise, but by Army Piper all the way from Texas. How are you doing this morning, Army Piper?
Brother, I am doing fantastic. I can't complain at all. So,
Yeah, some might say you're doing maybe as good, better than you deserve.
I'm always doing better than I deserve, Tim.
There we go. There we go. Gotta keep it in here. Yeah, we did update yesterday. We with no T-Shroom here, we had no quote of the day, but today we do have a quote of the day. And Piper, I'll let you deliver it for us.
Absolutely. So, taking a look here, what we have for this today. You only fell when you stop trying, Tim. That's the quote
Ooh.
of the day. I don't know who said it, but I know who sent it to me. So,
Yeah. I mean, this is I don't know the originator of the quote, but this is pretty pertinent in the crypto space. You hear a lot of people who have been in the red. They'll talk about, oh, I'm in the red. I've lost money, and it's like, well, you haven't lost money until you sell. And also, you hear a lot of people talk about when they're trading this, like, man, I just can't be successful. It's like, well, sometimes you lose trades. You just got to keep on pushing through, make some wise ones, adjust your risk to reward ratio, and eventually you end up being successful. That's the thing about it. When you do things over and over and over and over again, you end up gaining a skill. When you quit, though, hey, you're done. That's it. You did fail, and it's over. It's over if you quit. So, very interesting quote. We got a couple super chats coming in this morning already. So I'm gonna read those. We're engaged with chat here in just a little bit, but I want to read these super chats. First one from Mr. Bitcoin saying, "Have coffee on me." Thank you so much, Mr. Bitcoin. And then we just got one from Flezik. I think he told us that we said it correct once. Flesk, maybe Flesk. I think Flesk could be the right way of saying that. He said, "Gold morning, all. I know the poll has good intentions, but it's flawed-ish." All right, we'll talk about the poll here in just a second. "It really depends on the person's sleeping, eating, and working schedules." Flesk, here's what I'll say. That was a beautiful way of putting it because I absolutely agree. In case you're wondering what the heck he's talking about, look at that poll. We got 41 votes right now, even though we have like 70 people watching at this moment. So we got to get more votes in there. But I asked the question, when is the better time to work out, morning or evening? I didn't even put in there afternoon. I know some people like having like that midday workout, kind of break their day up. But I actually 100% agree with Flesk. It really depends on a lot of things. In the research I did, in a past life, I actually did a lot of sports training. So I worked with a lot of athletes. Some college athletes, some high school athletes trying to get to college level. And I worked with one who had finished college and he was trying to go pro. So I got to do a lot of research, a lot of study in this field, and it does come down to what is your sleep schedule like? What is the food you're eating? Even better, the other one is like studies have found that morning workouts actually can be more beneficial for burning more calories and getting your day going. And even though you won't burn more calories during the workout, it's just like a jump start for your day. I've heard some people say when you work out in the morning, it kind of livens up your whole day, gives you a little bit of like a boost. But strength athletes, I have heard that because you've gone through the day and you're warmed up and you're ready to go, evening workouts can be more beneficial for strength movements. So there's lots of factors that go in. I'm a big proponent, and I'm going to ask you about this, Piper. I'm a big proponent of, there's a lot of studies that are out there. No two trainers are going to say the exact same thing. You got to learn your own body. You got to learn what you like. You got to learn what you respond well to and be honest with yourself, because sometimes people just like to stay in their comfort zones. But it's all about figuring out yourself and how you work and then maximizing that effort. What about you, Piper? What are your thoughts about all that?
So, for the past 21 years, I've been up, in formation at 5 o'clock every morning to do PT, physical
Yeah.
training in the Army. So, the big thing that I've noticed though, since I've been separating, I'm in my retirement window and stuff right now. So, coming up on that, and I've had the ability to work out when I want to work out. So, I've actually discovered that I like working out right before lunch because I can eat a good
Yeah.
breakfast, let it digest, go work out, come back, take in some more, replenish the body. And that's just, it's what's been working out for me. But I haven't had the choice for a long time. So yeah, I'm in my test phase of what I like. And right now I'm leaning more towards pre-lunch. So
There we go. Pre-lunch. So you're right there in the middle of that. I just see a comment from Brian D. I love this comment. He said, "I used to have a six pack. I now have a keg." See, Brian, that's what we call an upgrade. That's the you used to have just a six pack, but you've upgraded to a keg. Now you're the life of the party. That's the way to view that. That very, very, very funny, very, very funny way of putting it. Well, I don't want to make a mistake that we made last week where we don't read names. So let's go ahead and read some of the names here in chat. We'll tease some stories that we'll cover in the back half of the show, and then we'll jump in and do some TA. It's going to be interesting TA today because, again, as I mentioned in the intro, nothing's really moving that significantly. But we're going to maybe explore, look at a couple different charts. Usually we spend a good amount of time on Bitcoin, kind of breaking it down because a lot of other charts follow it. Today, we're going to be very quick on Bitcoin. Nothing's really changed since yesterday. We'll address some key things there and then move on. But our first comment of the day came from a mellow fellow. Once again, with the hot streak, he is just coming in clutch here recently, being the first one to pop up on stream. Who's going to chase him down and who's going to get him, we'll have to see. But Crypto Trades was a close second, coming in early. But we also have, did he just change? Because I'm pretty sure it's the same face as Mr. Bitcoin. Vikatoshi Nakamoto, I'm pretty sure he just changed his name to that. But maybe he maybe has two different accounts. Mr. Bitcoin and Vikatoshi Nakamoto, but he was in third. Mr. J with the GM. Lots of people putting GM actually in chat. Mr. J is here, though. Eric Wallen is here. Who else? Crypto Sec Guy with the blue wrench. And he's accusing a mellow fellow of being a bot. And I got to say, interesting take. Interesting take. That might actually be true. A mellow fellow could possibly be a bot. I've never seen him. We'll have to kind of investigate that one a little more. CBD Suddy is here this morning. Who else do we have?
Suddy.
So's Majid is in here. Mike Play is here. Let's see, a couple more names. Cryptex with another blue wrench in chat. Welcome, Cryptex. We got also Henry C. Hernandez, Jojo, Crypto JMP is here. He also said, "Hey, Tim, take a look at PRQ and Koval." I actually don't know what either one of those are. So if we have time, Crypto JMP, I might. I actually, when I saw that comment earlier, I pulled up Koval. Chart looked kind of interesting. We'll see if we have time to go there. Keep you posted on that one. Eric Brubaker is here. We already mentioned Brian D, but welcome to him again. Joe Nickel, Max PP, Williest, Crux of Crypto. Crux Crypto is awesome. He's over in our Discord. Great, great researcher. Always finding some gems of articles and stories that affect the crypto space. Ninja Glock is here. Flesk, again, I think that Flesk would be the correct pronunciation. I think so. Crypto Birdie is here. Donato Cabrera. Grand Roofing Incorporated. Let's get a couple more here, and then we'll jump over into our stories and our TA. Josh Denham, Crimson Caravan Company, Crypto Mini Bike, and the last one we're going to read, TDs, is also here. Shout out to everyone else. If I did not read your name, it does not mean I don't love you. It just means it is time to get into the show. Right now, sometimes these numbers go back and forth. We got a lot of people watching here. I think we have 53 or so, only 37 likes. Let's go ahead and get those likes up, everybody. I want to kind of tease some stories, and then we'll jump into some TA, but we actually have a story that's going to be kind of leading us there that I'm going to let Army Piper kind of lead, and that has to do with Silvergate. But some other stories that are important. We have something coming out with the Cardano community, a little bit of drama happening in the Cardano community. We'll cover that in the second half hour. There's some interesting things happening with gold. There is some, I guess the best way to put it is diluted gold being sold. So all those gold freaks out there saying, "Oh, don't buy Bitcoin, buy gold." Well, hey, even gold's still being manipulated these days.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania. Oh, good. Go ahead.
You can't dilute Bitcoin.
Yep, cannot dilute it. You can try, but you can't do it. Pennsylvania is now home to a 100% nuclear-powered Bitcoin mining facility. We'll talk about that. There's also a good story with one of my favorite altcoins out there. Chili's, a sports-themed altcoin out there, is got some big news this morning. They stole an NFT platform from Solana, so that's going to be covered. Mastercard also has a new card that if you want to be using, paying in crypto, Mastercard got a new option for you. And the last one, we will be covering that Grayscale story with their new approach to getting their spot Bitcoin ETF. It's going to be a great show. Go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are excited. Now, before we jump into this TA, I want to throw it over to you, Piper, because we've been talking here more recently about, you can go over here to this one over here. We've been talking a lot about Silvergate over the last week. That was a lot of people were kind of putting this most recent Bitcoin crash on. They're blaming Silvergate for it. And since then, we have been flat. And you might have a reason as to why that is. Can you go ahead and dive us into that story?
I will. I'm not going to tease you today with news.
There
I'm
we
going to
go.
give it to you up front. So here we go. Let me go ahead and jump into my Safari here and show you guys what I'm looking at here. So there's this article, and there's been a lot of negative statements coming around on YouTube and other spaces within the crypto world here. They've been talking about that there's going to be a liquidity crisis coming from Silvergate within Bitcoin, right? So, but this article actually talks about Bitcoin liquidity unaffected by the Silvergate fiasco. But market depths are just remaining low. And if we dive into here a little bit, it says, despite the ongoing negative news around Silvergate Bank, its potential impact on Bitcoin liquidity has not been as significant as many in the markets may have anticipated. The recent Silvergate fiasco has not played a strong role in liquidity yet. And it says that, so the bank on Thursday admitted that it may struggle to remain solvent due to significant losses. And that's what caused this last dump that we had. A lot of people speculate that that was the reason for it. But that it sent the stock spiraling down nearly 56% during intraday trading. Major players in the crypto industry, such as Coinbase and Galaxy Digital Holdings and Paxos, have moved quickly to sever their ties with Silvergate Bank. And then lastly, it says this has sparked concern among market participants that Silvergate's potential legal troubles could have significant impact on liquidity, particularly in the Bitcoin market. Now, it goes on to talk about in here that there has not really been a liquidity case, but you and I were talking, Tim, and if you look at the daily chart, you want to go ahead and pull that up and show everybody what you're looking at here?
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about this, and what we saw was that since the Silvergate drop, we've had unequivocal flatness. It's just flat. Mm-hmm. And so the big question that I have is that I thought we could discuss, and I'd like to see what people think out there that are viewing right now, is that are we seeing this flat price range, this rare, unusual flatness that we have on Bitcoin price? Is this from an actual liquidity shortage coming into the market? There's no on-ramp. There's a lessening of the on-ramp. Or is it just because people are very scared to touch anything right now with all of these events that are coming up with the Fed this week and next week?
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting thing. I think there's a lot to be said there. We did get a little bit of volume that came in here yesterday on the 4-hour candles, but it's really weird seeing is that we have two. These are the two on the 4-hour candles. These are the two fattest candles, and yet their volume stayed low. And then we were followed by two more nice candles. When you look at volume, you can't complain about it. But look at what the candles that correspond to it are. They did almost nothing, which means any type of momentum that the bulls tried to mount up and get some sort of a push, the bears are able to kill. And when you see that much volume correspond to that little of swing and price action, that's kind of a balancing effect. This is one of the reasons why the title for today's video is that these next 3 days are so critical for Bitcoin. It's because of this flat movement, a breakout will come. If anyone's wondering, is this the end of Bitcoin? Did we just turn Bitcoin into a little a stable coin? That's not going to happen. We're going to be breaking out here very soon. The formation we discussed heavily yesterday, this falling wedge formation, I've talked about how I think we're going to see a push up into the 22,700s, maybe 800s, and then a drop back down to 21.5 to a support level. Well, guess what? Even if we don't get that push, we're going to be hitting resistance over here moving sideways, this falling resistance. And I do believe Bitcoin will be forced to kind of make a decision. Does it want to pop up and rally? Does it want to fall down and head to the downside? A lot of levels we talked about yesterday include for the bulls 23.1, 23.200. We could see a push up that way. Also, a big level the bears should be keeping their eyes on, and a good place to gobble up more Bitcoin would be all the way down here towards 18,400, 18,000 itself. That would include running through that CME gap that you probably have heard multiple technical analysts discuss the significance of. Either way, we got a lot of things happening in terms of what could, we got a lot of possibilities of what could happen. And yet this Silvergate story, like you mentioned, Piper, has made us just move sideways in a very boring area. And it's just like anytime we start to gain any type of momentum in one way or the other side comes and kills it and sends it back. This does look like a very clear capitulating event, very small capitulating event before a big breakout. The question is, do we go to the upside first? Do we go to the downside first? Are we going to see the bulls just take back over? We also got to see, I think today, we'd mentioned yesterday, Jerome Powell is going to be speaking a little bit. He'll talk more tomorrow. We'll have more updates probably either later tomorrow or Thursday about Jerome Powell and the Fed's news, because that's another big thing. Here next week, we get our new inflation numbers. Here in 2 weeks, we get another FOMC meeting where we kind of get a feeling for what the Fed thinks about current inflation, and that will do a lot to the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So a lot of big things coming here very soon, and I think we'll know a lot more. If not today, if not tomorrow, within the next 3 days, we will know a lot more about what Bitcoin's next couple weeks will look like.
I have a question, Tim. On that chart there, how many days do we have until we hit that red barrier of that wedge?
Well, so yeah, so one way or the other, whether we pop up and hit it today or tomorrow, or let's just say we keep moving sideways, we're going to run into it on the 9th. Today's the 7th, so that means here in 2 days. Theoretically speaking, it could stretch over to the higher level of this resistance over to the 10th. But I think that we're going to see some form of a move earlier than that. And then, of course, again, it's going to be watching this 21.5, watching this falling level of support. After that, could that be a level we come down and touch? And again, we laid that all out yesterday. If you guys want to go back and watch yesterday's TA, it is still just as relevant today as it was yesterday because Bitcoin hasn't done anything of significance ever since then.
Interesting. Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind is we do have Jerome Powell speaking today to the Senate in his testimony with the Senate today, and that's going to be at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I'm curious to see that with his speech today, on his testimony with the Senate, and then tomorrow at the same time, 10 Eastern Standard Time, is the House. So I'm curious to see, do we get any movement in Bitcoin that invalidates that there is a liquidity crisis because of Silvergate, or is it just because people were holding their breath and waiting to see what was coming from Jerome Powell and the Fed? And this will be phase one of a three-phase event that could have a lot of volatility, one being Jerome Powell speaking today and tomorrow, the CPI data next week, and then on March 22nd, the Fed rate hike data from the FOMC. So,
absolutely. Well, let's move on here, Piper. Let's kind of do some TI and some other things. One thing that we have not done, I didn't do any on it yesterday, and I don't think we touched on it on Friday. And Bitcoin is doing some different things. Traditionally, we trade almost the exact opposite. It's not trading opposite, but it is important to keep an eye on what is happening over on the Dixie, the DXY. This is the dollar index. So a couple things to keep in mind, that we have continued to hold up this 0.382 level that I have been talking about now for a couple of weeks when it comes to using Fibonacci. If you're wondering, Tim, what are you talking about? Going down to the bottom we had back in May of 2021, up to this more recent peak we had in September of 2022. This Fibonacci level at 0.382 has continued to hold up. There was concern as we were approaching it because we hit it over here back in January, dipped down to our more recent low at $100 back here over in early February. But as we kind of picked up some momentum, and there was a lot of there's a lot of speculation that as Bitcoin continue to drop, we're going to see the Dixie continue to climb. And there is a chance, this is if we actually see the Dixie begin to climb, if we see the Fed come in with, God forbid, a 50 basis point hike, or even just really, really hawkish nature. Like, let's say Jerome Powell comes out and says that he does believe we're going to have to start approaching that 6% interest rate. We could really see the Dixie climb and get back up towards, I think, a 109, 108 level, back to this 0.236 level would be one to watch. But for now, this level of resistance at the 0.382 is continuing to hold up over the last couple of days. Not only has Bitcoin been moving sideways, but the Dixie has been moving to the downside. So keep your eyes on what is happening over on the Dixie. We kind of had a little bit of a double bottom in a short timeline here on the 4-hour chart at 103.73. So we're starting to kind of rally up just a little bit. But as you can see, even when you're looking at the volume on the Dixie is starting to kind of, over the last couple of days, be very boring. So it seems like the entire space, there's just not a whole lot of movement. Either way, though, that resistance level is very key to hold up there. Let's take a look at some other cryptos. And I think we've touched on this a little bit, but I want to go into more detail. We'll start talking about Ethereum, and I want to throw it over even to Piper in just a couple of seconds to get your take, even what ChartPrime is saying. But we talked about this a little bit yesterday, this descending trading channel that Ethereum is in. And just like Bitcoin, it has been moving sideways, maybe a little more excitement than Bitcoin, but as a whole, not necessarily that exciting. What I do like about Ethereum, and this is something we talked about before, where Bitcoin and Cardano and some other projects kind of had some nice explosive rallies, Ethereum stayed a little bit more modest here recently. And you're going to see here, if we were to go down to the, not bottom of this entire bear market, but let's go down to the bottom that we had back here in November, and let's use Fibonacci and see what it's doing. We actually see that Ethereum has been holding up maybe a little bit better than some other projects. We're hovering right now and struggling beneath that 0.236, but this is not that significant of a pullback from this recent high, going back to the bottom that, again, we're setting back here. I'm going to the bottoms that we had back in November of 2022. This is actually a very good sign of strength, that despite the fact that we rejected right here at 1740, couldn't quite make that push back up to the 18,000s or 1800s or 2000, we are kind of not letting the bears take completely over. Whereas when we're looking at Bitcoin, you're going to see that we have a more dramatic pullback. Let's go to kind of the same type of timelines, bottoms. Let's go over here. Whereas Bitcoin, actually Bitcoin is closer than I thought. It is not hovering right below 0.236. It's hovering above 0.382. It's Cardano, I guess, the real one that we've had a significant pullback. Let's go back to these bottoms of December, November, and look at what Cardano is doing. I always like to compare what Ethereum and Cardano are doing. Cardano has fallen all the way back and has recently, over the last couple of days, lost the 50% on Fibonacci. I'll cover more Cardano here in just a second, and we do have an interesting story about them in the second half hour. My point here is that Ethereum, though, it's actually holding up pretty well. And just like Bitcoin, again, have we gotten boring over the last couple of days since the Silvergate crash? Yes, we have, but that will not last forever. Excitement will come back into the space. I'm interested to see what Ethereum does. I think that especially as we get closer, and I know it just got pushed back to April, but as we get closer to that unlocking of the stake ETH, it's some people think it's going to be a bearish narrative. I think it's actually going to encourage people to more jump into Ethereum. Right now, I'm encouraged. I think Ethereum is one that's kind of due for a good breakout here soon. One thing that is alarming, and this is something to keep an eye on, is that we were kind of in a rising wedge pattern on Ethereum, and we did break below it. So is this going to have its full play out, which would send us probably back down here towards golden pocket to the 0.786, back down towards 1200s, 1300s, or is Ethereum going to be able to mount some sort of strength? Piper, what are you seeing over on ChartPrime? Do you think that Ethereum has something special coming in the next couple of weeks, or do you think that it is down from here for Ethereum?
So I would like to think that it's going to go up. I don't know if you know this or not, Tim, but I'm kind of an ETH maxi in my portfolio, so I'd love to see it go up. But there's no negotiating with the charts. So what I'm actually seeing here is, right now, we do have support. I'm looking at a 12-hour chart on Ethereum here. We do have our support right now. With right below us is our dynamic reactor, which is from the ChartPrime Oracle. But we're also in between our trade band on our predictive ranges. So if we break this, I mean, we do have good support coming in at about 1477, 1478. And then our bottom here of this normal trade band would be 1250. But I actually have something concerning that I'm looking at here. If I turn on this chart patterns here, you will see that we've had this long running trend wedge here. Let me turn off the Oracle so I don't mix up that trend line in here. But we had a confirmed breakout of this pattern here. And we had broke it previously and stayed, pretty decently below it, and then came back up into it, giving us back into that pattern. But we have a breakout target on this at $1,180. What I find interesting with this is that if I go and I turn on the what was I looking at here? I was looking at something that came in right at that line. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so if we do come back down to that point there, I mean, we do have our predictive range coming in right here. And if I turn on the VRVP, it's almost in line with our point of control here too. So
Hmm.
little concerning. Like right now, we are getting
That's
support
that's
here.
what level? That's what level down there?
That VRBP point of control is going to be at
Hmm.
$1,216.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was looking at too with that 0.786.
Yep. So I'm a
Yeah.
little concerned right now. I do also have a fib retracement here, but it's not gonna. It's what I have it pulled on is not lining up exactly at that level. But we do have the golden pocket above us that we rejected off of pretty cleanly multiple times. So I don't know, Tim. I think we're going to see downside on Ethereum, and I'll get to test if I truly am an ETH maxi or not and buy more. So.
Yeah, actually, I forgot that I had this drawn on a different chart. Go back to my screen. We were talking about this yesterday, you and me, Piper. That we call this the Jesus fish. I had it drawn just because we had levels of rising level of support and resistance. But if you guys eliminate my extra lines here, this is a diamond formation, and when you come into diamond formations, when you're moving up into them, this is a reversal formation, which would imply that we're coming back down again. We're looking at those levels around 1300. So this is a smaller timeline. This one I have going back, starting off down to the dip we had in November. Is this the same one that I just did? I don't think that I did. I draw those lines the same. I think I went back even further than that. Either way, um, just lost my train of thought. I think this one I actually started off at a little bit different of an area. Okay, I started out this one. I started up top here back in August, came down to the dip here, so there's a little bit different of stuff. But yet the 0.236 level on this one sitting pretty close. If I were to draw another one here, back what I had in my other chart, gotta grab my fib tool though. If I were to come back up here, this you're gonna see these lines get kind of close to each other. Look at that. The 0.236 is lining up just perfectly with the golden pocket. If you go August down to here and this one up to here, we have a kind of correlation right there at about 1300. So that's going to be very interesting. Would make a lot of sense, especially with this more diamond formation, to kind of fall back down to that level. This is going to be something really interesting to keep an eye on here. The bulls are going to want to hold this support, but if we do see this break, look out below for Ethereum. Again, I do think a special rally could be coming very soon because Ethereum didn't get the same kind of rallies that we saw on other projects. And you kind of see that a lot. I don't know how many people were here back in 2020, 2021, but you watch these coins kind of take turns. I know Cardano was the biggest one. Cardano had the most impressive year in 2021, but you watch these projects take turn leading the market, and they kind of led at different places. So Ethereum, I do think, is due for a big uptick sometime soon, but we might see that dip come in first. Keep your eyes on what's happening there. Let's take a look at some other projects here that are of interest. Matic continues to be a special project with more products, but they are coming down. And this is something that we did talk about, something that I did predict that as much as Matic had a special run going, I did think it was time to reverse this. I think we talked about this back in February, early February, and sure enough, we are still coming down. Let's take a look at some levels that we could see Matic pull back down to and find some support. Piper, I'm interested to see what you think on ChartPrime. But let's just use some Fibonacci. Let's use some fixed range volume profile right now. I'm going to start off by going back down to this more recent bottom that kind of had a flat level of bottom before things got exciting for Matic again. Right now, we pulled back down, didn't quite get to our golden pocket, but turned the 50 into a level of resistance. This could be really interesting. Watch this golden pocket, which is also a level of former resistance, be maybe turned into support here around $1.06. I do believe that line I was put there. I think that's what we were talking about. We talked about once we made this really rally push, watch for 106, $1 could be very interesting. 93 cents is where we kind of had some support down here back only in late January. So if things get really bearish on Matic, that could be interesting as well. Let's pull up our fixed range volume profile and let's just kind of take a look at some levels that have a lot of significance. Volume really wants to go down here, but look at this. This is another reason this 106 kind of confirmation that the market kind of wants to pull down there. We got a nice little valley in our volume, the fixed range volume profile hovering at that same level, 105, 106. Got the golden pocket, got our strong level of former resistance that we need to turn into support, and we get a nice little dip right there in volume. I think there's a lot of things pulling Matic down this way. It would make a lot of sense if you're looking for a new place to gobble up some more Matic. 105, 106 is looking kind of juicy. What are your thoughts, Piper? What are you seeing?
I've got a couple of things going on here, Tim, that I'm looking at. Let me go in and turn off the predictive ranges real fast. There we go. clean that up a little bit. So looking at Matic here, we did get a reversal down here with a bearish Harami candlestick pattern from the candlestick patterns in the Market Oracle, and that gave us, you know, a good downtick of 27.5%. You've seen here previously that, you know, we had one also. We did have a little down pull, came back up, retested that daily number 2 resistance there, and then down she went. Then we also got an uptick there, which led into us coming back up to that previous level there. Now, mind you, we do have some times where you have them where they'll print, like here we had a reversal down. That one didn't play out, but for, you know, most of the other ones have, there's a down tick, there's an uptick on the possible reversal ups, right? So when we have this bearish Harami here and we came down, it makes me wonder, what are we going to see with this possible reversal up that we're now printing on the 12-hour dynamic reactor? So I mean, I do see that we could have some downside, but what I really find interesting is that when Bitcoin tends to go sideways and be flat, altcoins typically do a run up. And we're not really seeing that with any of the alts right now. Even though Bitcoin's flat, that's normally where the alts take advantage of that stable price range that Bitcoin falls into, and they take off on rallies. We're not getting that this time. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Polygon Matic here. We do have a 12-hour support line. It's going to be a mid-level strength, number 3, coming in right now at about $1. But our majors for the daily and the 12-hour are all the way down here at the 70-cent range. So if we break that dynamic reactor there and we fall through this number 3 here, I mean, we could be looking at, you know, at least retesting this trend line at 88 cents or going all the way down. And even if I go in here and I turn off the multi-time frame greatest support resistance and I throw on the predictive ranges here, you're going to see that we really don't have much going on within the predictive ranges even. We're below. So we got our rejection pretty much at the upper trade band that I always talk about, right? We got a little bit of a struggle here to get back in on the delta. We got a bit of a struggle here. Like every time it breaks to a new level, it retests it and it gets rejected. We're now at the lower support band below it. There's our retest. We've now caught this support on the dynamic reactor. We've only got one more line in this predictive range before we print a new range down. So I do think that we could see 88-cent Polygon Matic if we don't get something coming out from the Fed this week to give us a little bit of movement back up. So
very interesting. You know, I think you posed a very good question right there, you know, or a good point that when Bitcoin gets kind of boring and starts to move sideways, alts usually take advantage of that. But I think this situation is different. Like we were talking about earlier, this kind of got sparked by the whole Silvergate thing, and Silvergate crashed. And there's this almost like paralyzing fear. And that's what we're seeing right now, whether it be liquidations or whether it just be people feeling confident in the space. I don't think that people really know what is the next move to make, because not only do we have Silvergate, one of the larger liquidation banks in the crypto space, we see Coinbase and others pulling out of it, but we're also sitting here waiting on Jerome Powell. We're waiting on what the next inflation numbers were. For the first time in multiple months, the last month's inflation numbers were not what we thought they were going to be. A lot of people, I think, had almost started to wishfully hope and think, hey, we're finally getting control of our inflation, our economy is coming back. And then last month, things kind of flipped on that a little bit, and the inflation numbers were a little higher than we thought. So I think that the reason we're not seeing alts kind of just run away with it at this point is that kind of crippling fear, hey, what is next? And there'll be some more confidence here over the next couple of weeks when we do start to at least get some closure. Like, Jerome, are you going to be bearish and hawkish? All right, just let us know so we can start working that stuff in, and there's not so much unknown going on right there with our economy and a lot of other things. Obviously, the other one is, and we don't talk about this all the time on the show, but it seems like every week something new develops where we're really not certain where we stand with the Russia-Ukraine ordeal and the war going on over there. How much more involved is the United States going to be? What is that going to do to not only printing money to send support, but even our livelihoods? Are American citizens, American troops going to be sent over into Europe in preparation for something bigger? This is another move that kind of keeps people in a paralyzing spot of like, I don't know what is next. I don't want to make any move before I know things. So something definitely to keep an eye on, though. It is 9:34. It's time to try to kind of transition into some stories. If we have time, we might come back and explore some charts. But really quickly, I do want to let everyone know we got 100 people watching right now, but only 63 of those like buttons have been smashed. Go ahead and smash those likes if you guys are loving the show so far. And we're going to there we go. New sound effect. There we go. We're about to jump into some of our stories. I was talking to Piper yesterday about this. I'm very glad for T Shroom. He got a break. He gets a vacation, but I do miss him. I love that he gets to handle all the stories. But we're gonna keep going here. We're gonna keep moving on and kind of cover some of these headlines. I'm not gonna go into great depth into the article, but like we always do, I'll post these over in our Discord. Which, speaking of, if you're not in our Discord, you definitely want to be in it. There are paid versions of it. You can sign up through our Patreon, which are amazing, get some great behind the scenes stuff. But even the free version, we have a very special treat this Friday where we're going to be having an Elliott Waves and Fibonacci expert coming in and giving a webinar about how he uses Elliott Waves and Fibonacci retracements to kill it in the trading game. If you guys were in the ChartPrime Discord and you saw some of the trades this guy makes and some of the profits he's taking, it would absolutely blow you away. Well, he's going to come over and we're going to have a free webinar for everyone in our Discord. So make sure you click that link down below and go join us today. That'll be Friday, 3 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Let's jump into some of these stories here, Army Piper, and kind of address what's happening here. Starting off with a little bit of a confusing piece. This is about the Cardano community. The title over here, this is one of T-Shroom's favorite websites, You Today. Cardano community reacts to criticism from Charles Hoskinson, and here is what happened. So a little bit of a drama being mixed in the Cardano community. And I love Charles, but he definitely is not one to shy away from drama. I don't have that highlighter tool that he usually uses, but pretty much what happened, I don't know if some of you guys know more information on this, but Charles Hoskinson had a 2-hour-long stream where he kind of was talking about the CIP 1694, but also criticized a lot of the Cardano community, or he criticized a portion of them for being split and not really caring about these updates. It seems like they just want to talk about drama. And guess what? The reaction to Charles Hoskinson, even it was split. Cardano enthusiasts were not slow to react to developers' outbursts, and opinions were divided. Some of them said that such lectures are incomprehensible to ordinary people and that they do not find it interesting to listen for 2 hours about governance or staking changes to Cardano, which do not even exist. Let's pause right there. I'm going to have to say I would consider myself a part of the Cardano community, maybe not the most avid participant, but I think I would fall into this grouping, Piper, and I want to hear what you think. Are you just foaming at the mouth to sit for 2 hours listening to governance and staking changes to a platform?
Not at all. I'm foaming at the mouth to see some more DCA prices for ADA. That's about my extent of foaming at the mouth with anything in the world of Cardano. So
Yeah, and I understand. Charles has been very outspoken. He's been very outspoken that he sometimes doesn't like the price analysis of Cardano that a lot of influencers do. He likes when people get into the nitty-gritty details. But guess what, Charles? The majority of people are not going to even comprehend what's going on in those discussions. And again, just because you don't like 2-hour meetings does not mean you don't love Cardano. There are other Cardano enthusiasts that said they love them and they want to see more of them. And then, so it's a very split thing here. A little bit of drama happening in the Cardano community. I don't think anyone is going anywhere because that's what's also cool about Cardano. As much as Charles was that factor to really push it forward and people really believed in him, Cardano has become a project that it doesn't depend upon him to be successful. It is truly, if not at least one of the most decentralized cryptos out there, which is its big strength. Charles just wants more people to become in the weeds tech nerds about what the Cardano governance looks like. So covering that here on Cardano. Let me know in chat what your guys' thoughts are. Are you guys people that sit in 2-hour-long governance updates, or you guys just want to wait for an article to come out to give you some of those details? I'm in the second one on that one. We talked about it earlier in our little tease of the show, but we got Perth Mint sold up to $9 billion in diluted gold to China. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of the details. The details are in the headline. Pretty much Perth Mint is out here trying to make some money off of China diluting gold. This is a problem that gold has had for a long time.
That's a major mint, just so you know, Tim.
Yeah.
Like Perth Mint is huge. Like
yes. And this is one of the things we've talked about for a while is why is Bitcoin better than gold? Because that is the comparison that always gets made is Bitcoin is digital gold. And people want to kind of hold off and say, well, at least I can touch gold and I can do. That right there, because you can touch gold, you can dilute it. And you could dilute Bitcoin. Like, obviously, we even had the updates that Cardano here yesterday was updating that they now can sell wrapped Bitcoin. You can do things and you can dilute through a ways of you can dilute things in crypto if you're dealing with idiots. But if you're buying a real thing, like if I'm buying Bitcoin from an exchange, there's no way for them to dilute it because they cannot physically touch it. They cannot physically go in and manipulate it. The world in our best days of this planet, when it comes to financial situations, it's when we either use gold specifically or gold-backed money was used. But even there, we had some imperfections with some dilutions, with some manipulations. And once again, this is just an example. If you think the end-all be-all is gold, if you think that's the safest place to be storing your wealth, and that you think that's the safest place to be kind of getting all this stuff, this is just an article reminding you gold, because of its physical touch nature, is susceptible to manipulation, just like other things. Bitcoin, though, on the other hand, is not. So we want to kind of run through these headlines, get back into some more juicy details, but thought you guys would find that one interesting. Here we go back into the world of crypto and specifically Bitcoin. Pennsylvania is now home to a 100% nuclear-powered Bitcoin mining facility. Really cool picture there. A lot of stuff. Let me know in chat, how many of you guys actually have, or at one point dabbled in Bitcoin mining and had some great computers? I know that's a whole process and it looks really confusing in your house. But this is something happening right here. I had to kind of double check my sources. Terra Wolf is the one kind of announcing this. They're saying that this is going to be a 100% nuclear powered Bitcoin facility in the United States. Big news for Bitcoin, big news for stuff. But I did know that Terra Wolf had been a little bit in the news themselves with some dramatic things. Army Piper, I know you were kind of talking about this. Terra Wolf is related to Nova Wolf, which had some interesting relationship stuff with Celsius. Is there any reason, Piper, that we should be concerned about Terra Wolf being involved here, or are they a good player in the field?
So two of the founding members of TerraWolf are part of the founding member team of Nova Wolf, which is involved with the whole Celsius piece. It seems that their intentions are good for the crypto space, Nova Wolf, and therefore I would assume that Terra Wolf has good intentions also. I mean, obviously we know what their intentions are. They want to make money off of Bitcoin mining, but we need the miners. That's the whole purpose of Bitcoin, right? We need the miners in order to get to our 21 million. Speaking of that, I do want to make a comment on the gold thing. If you remember, right, last year we had that whole situation where they did the land survey and thought that they had found a gold deposit in the ground that actually doubled the amount of global gold supply.
No, I never heard of that.
Yeah, it happened last year. It was in Africa. But, that's another thing that Bitcoin has. You can't be diluted, and you won't accidentally discover another 21 million Bitcoin ever. So,
No,
not happening.
no, you will not. You will not. No, I had. What's funny about that, actually, and this is a small story time, and then we'll go back into the actual stories. I had a dream a couple nights ago that there was a huge push that that we were going to expand, and I don't know why this number was like we were going to expand to 25 million Bitcoin. So instead of having 21, all the miners had gotten together and voted, and it was a huge thing. It was super dramatic. And then I woke up, and I was very happy to wake up because if we start expanding the supply of Bitcoin, there's a lot of things that we have believed in for a while that are going to go down the tubes.
So
anyway, let's keep.
So Tim, tell me more about this nightmare, Tim.
This dream, yeah, for real. It was scary. I want to get back into stories though, so I can forget that story. This is an interesting article here because it contains not only one of my favorite, but also one of my more least favorite projects in the right direction. Block Asset Athlete NFTs drop Solana for Chili's sport platform. Now, I do want to start off by saying I saw this article, got super excited because I love the concept of what Chili's is trying to do, being an exchange that allows fans to interact with their teams. It has not come anywhere close to really touching American athletics and American sports the way I'd like it to. I know it's a bigger thing over in Europe and the UK, where I think in different. I'm an American, so I have to say soccer leagues over in Europe and the UK have interacted with it a lot. I did check this out though; it has not impacted Chili's chart whatsoever. In fact, Chili's is even, and it's starting a little green candle on the 4-hourly chart, but is down on the day, down 1.8%. However, I'm going to take the win as I can get it. And this is, again, a switch from Solana, which just cannot catch a break here more recently. Solana has their developers leaving. It has all of their platforms, the partnerships leaving. And this is just one more. Not really certain, again, because I'm not an NFT guy. I don't know how big of a deal this NFT project is, although those are kind of cool looking features. But it's just another loss for Solana, another win for Chili's. And again, with this partnership, it will come across NFL, NBA, NHL, MLS, the top soccer leagues around the world. And this investment comes through Chili's Lab. This could help kind of bridge that gap for Chili's, getting more involved with American athletics, getting more involved with American sports fans. And if that happens, I could not be more happy for this Chili's project to be engaging with some of my favorite sports teams. I doubt they ever really get into college sports. Maybe you see with NIL deals happen. That's where I would really love to engage with them. But for now, I am excited. I want to look over at chat. Cryptex says, Cryptex from the UK says, no, you don't have to say that, Tim. I do. It's become a thing. He's talking about the football versus soccer debate. I will say here about a year and some change ago, I was an advocate of saying, all right, let's call it football because it should be football. But that huge campaign we just had with the World Cup, where it was a big deal that Americans call it soccer, I'm a patriot. I have to stick with my country, and so I am forced to say that sport is called soccer. I respect everyone who calls it football, but you're wrong because we're Americans and we like to just argue nonsense till we die. And so we will call it soccer, and that is final in my opinion. Let's keep moving on with some more interesting stories here for our UK. Speaking of our UK and EU fans, Mastercard is launching a Bitcoin card in the UK and the EU. This is happening via Bybit. So this is really exciting. And I don't know how many people are actually going to use this. I doubt people listening here are going to be using cards to pay for things in cryptocurrency. We all understand that right now crypto is at a very low point. We're going to want anything we're holding to just go ahead and sit in our hopefully cold wallets. And just accrue value over time. But if you were so tempted to move a lot of your money into cryptocurrency, and then be able to pay for things via Bybit's new card, you absolutely can do that with MasterCard. Right now, it's only going to be including Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, USDC, and XRP. Oh, great projects right there. But this will just allow you, wherever you go within the UK and Europe, to keep your money in cryptocurrency, in these cryptocurrencies, but still be able to access ATMs and still be able to use this card, and it transfers all of that immediately. We saw something similar happen with Strike and what Strike's trying to do with Jack Mallers, which, by the way, I'm really interested to hear some more updates on that. Even though I won't be at the Bitcoin conference here in just a couple of months, Jack Mallers will be there, and I'm sure he's going to give an update on what is happening with that. So make sure, that's another thing about what we're doing here. There's a link down below. If you have not signed up for tickets and you really want to go to Bitcoin 2023 down in Miami, there is a link down below. You get 10% off using our link, and T. Shroom is going to be there. So you can go down and meet him. Crypto Set Guy is going to be there. Matt C is going to be there. Tom Wilkes is going to be there. Who else? Let me know in chat if you guys are already scheduled to go down to Bitcoin 2023, or if you want to, go ahead and put in chat that you're going to be there, and you guys need to go down and meet everybody and have a great time. I can't wait for 2024. I am, God forbid, if something else doesn't break in my life, going to be at the 2024 one. Either way, I think this is a good news. Just another form of adoption for cryptocurrency. This is the big deal. If we want crypto to become currency, if we actually want it to take mass adoption, it will take some of us kind of biting the bullet and saying, you know what? I'm not just going to hodl. I'm actually going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to start buying things in cryptocurrencies. So this is a big move for the UK and the EU. Would love to see it come to the US here down the line. But let's move over into our last story, the big story of the day, and that is Grayscale. And we'll spend some time here and kind of break this down. And then we might even get back, and we might have some time and get back into some charts. However, let's kind of go and break down this article right here. Grayscale's day in court is nearly here, but a major decision could take time. Now, again, with not having the little tool that T. Shroom always uses, I'm going to have to kind of scroll here and find what I'm looking for. However, there's right here, Grayscale is set to present an oral arguments in the case against the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission on Tuesday. Let's see right here. There's a quote here that's probably the best way of putting this. All right, right here. So this is kind of their case. So Don Verrelli, lead counsel for Grayscale, laid out his key arguments during breakfast last month. Ultimately, what he's coming down to is this: an agency can act in an arbitrary and, ooh, that's a fun word, capricious?
Capricious.
Capricious? That's the new word of the day right there, guys. ladies and gentlemen, capricious. An agency can act in an arbitrary and capricious manner if they take like cases and treat them differently, Verley argued. Let's see where it talks about this. What it kind of breaks down to, you keep scrolling here, the SEC's decision to approve Bitcoin futures ETPs and not have spot market ETFs is a classic case of the taking like cases and treating them differently, he said. They just contradict each other, and that's the essence of our case. Now, you can go off my screen and we can kind of discuss this, continue to break it down. Ultimately, his point here that he's kind of making is that we've seen the SEC allow ETPs come into the space. We've seen them make those arguments. But then when it comes to the spot ETF, Gary Gensler and the SEC are saying, oh, we're not sure about this. This is still a sign. This could easily still be used for manipulation of price action. And the lawyers here for Grayscale are saying, no, this is absolutely a violation. This is you picking and choosing. This is a great example that they think they'll win, that they can prove. These are two like-minded situations, but the SEC is picking and choosing what they want to approve. And we've had speculation on this before. Do we see the SEC, colluding with the likes of maybe BlackRock and other large banking entities so that they can have the first spot ETFs? What are your thoughts about this, Army Piper? What are your concerns and worries about this case?
So the futures ETF that they've approved actually is more has more capability of manipulating the market than what the spot ETF does. And I'm in agreement with them. I do think that they're looking at this and saying, no, you can't do this, but you just let them do that. I mean, that's unfair treatment of the rule of law in a judicial system. So I think they have a valid point. I think that we need a spot ETF. I think a spot ETF is the next on-ramp of some institutional money into the space. And that judge, I hope, can see that there is a travesty of injustice going on here between what they approve and what they don't approve. So.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go back to the article, but it talks about how the SEC has claimed that they have a reasonable reason for rejecting it. But one of the things that they point out, Grayscale points out, is they say you're saying you're trying to protect people, but you don't realize that everything we want to do with a spot ETF, it would still be regulated by the CFTC. And that's another thing that we see some discrepancies and we see some confusing contradiction of thought from Gary Gensler, who has been very adamant that Bitcoin is not a security. He has been very adamant that Bitcoin should be treated differently. He's even, in his own words, said the CFTC should regulate it. But when it comes to the spot ETF, he's refusing to relinquish control when he really, really should. And so, again, I don't think this comes as any surprise to anybody, but there's clearly some sort of, he's worried about manipulating people, the retail investor, but there's clearly some form of control and manipulation when it comes to even the back end. Who is he trying to protect? Who's he trying to hold this off for? What companies and what entities are paying or doing something for the SEC to make them continue to stiff arm Grayscale? I'm really hoping that, like we said, that this court case could happen very soon. They're actually appearing today. It is Tuesday, with the expectation of hopefully by mid to late summer, we might finally see a decision and a launch of a Grayscale spot ETF.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm hoping too. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Gary Gensler's. He's been blocking everything that gives hope to crypto. So, hopefully, we do get that spot ETF, and hopefully, soon we don't have to deal with bias from the head of the SEC. So that would be great.
that would be phenomenal. I'm over here watching chat. Alex Green puts it in here. The definition of capricious. Well, I mean, we don't need to just have a definition. We need a correct pronunciation. Changing according to no discernible rules or unpredictable, given to a sudden and unaccountable change of moods or behavior.
I've had some moments that my wife has been capricious.
Yeah. I was going to say, I've known some people in my life that I could classify as capricious. Absolutely. Well, let us know in chat. What are your guys' thoughts here? Do you think that this is going to be a big win for Grayscale? Do you think the SEC is able to get away and continue to hold off this spot ETF? The other one, the big question is going to be, and I know it's had to be speculation up to this point, but what would a spot ETF look like for Bitcoin? Like, what would that bring into the space? There's obviously the thought that it would bring in and come with a lot of volume. We've seen in the past where spot ETFs of other things, not just crypto, we've seen them come in and bring an increase to the market. But do you guys think that would bring in a mass adoption? Do you guys think that would bring a big price? Do you think it would come with a little bit of a crash? If it was to launch later on in this year, when there's still some speculation that we might see the market crash, could that just kind of flatten out and keep Bitcoin from setting a new bottom? Let me know in chat what your guys' thoughts are about Grayscale. And that's all the stories we had planned for today. This is, I think, a record, Piper, and this is because T-Shroom's not here. For the first time in the history of the Investing Bros show, we have gone through our content, and it is not 10 o'clock. This is something T-Shroom and I, when we first started on the show, and I have fluff time now, so I can tell these kinds of stories. I cannot tell you the amount of stress in his voice that he would be like, I don't think we have enough. Tim, I think we're going to finish the show at like 9:45 and not have. And I'm like, T-Shroom, just trust me, we can fill this time up. And in fact, most times we actually finish the show and there was like 2 or 3 things we wanted to do that we just did not have time to do. Sometimes it has to do with engaging with chat. So I think we should take this time and really open this up for some questions, engage with them. But I did want to point out this was a first. You and me, Piper, are making history here on Investing Bros. We filled our content and we still have time left over. So kudos to us. Let us know in chat. What are some questions? Yeah, there we go. Guys. What are some things that you guys have been wondering? What are some things, maybe you guys have some questions you guys want us to look at? I do remember someone asked earlier, what was the coin that they asked for? I'm not going to remember what it was.
It was a degen coin, and I love it because now we're starting to bring some degen into your life, Tim. We're going to make you one yet. Cryptex, we're working on it. We're working on making Tim a degen.
It's going to take a lot of work. I am very much so. I like the top. I have some holdings outside of the top like 40, and some things I want to expand in. But like out of the top 100, no. Like getting out of the top 100, I'm just like I just don't trust it. I know there's places and there's times and ways you can make 100x for some of these projects, but it's like for every single one you make it 100x on, there's others that they go to zero or they just drop off the face of the planet. And so I'm a skeptic when it comes to getting into the degen realm. I like the ones that have lots of interactions and stories, and you can kind of keep up to date with what's happening with their fundamentals. We got a question here from Crypto Set Guy, and I'm going to say right now, I haven't even looked at the question. I am worried though, because I very rarely do we get questions from Crypto Set Guy directed at me that are positive. All right, this isn't that. He said a question: is Tim actually going to read the books behind him? Interesting. What books do I? Okay, so I'm going to use this. Good to Great, read it. Great book, highly recommend. The Fiat Standard, have not read it yet. Did read the Bitcoin Standard. The Fiat Standard is one that I definitely want to get. Let's see, I can't read them in the screen, so I'm going to have to turn around. Bitcoin Standard, like I said, that's been read. That's Bitcoin Standard right here. Start with Why, another great book, definitely read it. The Toyota Way, read it. I don't know if I'd recommend it. If you guys want a standard operating system for your business, Toyota Way might help you out there. What else we got? I think I've read like 70% of the books on that shelf right there. So not bad. Actually, when you first phased the question, I thought it was going to be lower than that. But now that I'm looking at them, I think I've read about 70%.
You need to read The Art of the Trade. It's a psychology trader's book, how to deal with emotions and psychology.
The Art of the Trade. Is that the Donald Trump book?
Nope. It's
he's the Art of the Deal.
Yeah, he's the Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's In the Zone is what it's called. In the Zone is what the book's called. It's about psychology and emotions and trading. So,
okay, I'll
and I do want to say that we have 3 minutes until Jerome Powell starts speaking to the Senate today, and so I'm looking at this over here. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this, and I dropped a link in here for this earlier. I'm going to drop another one right now. This is the FOMC link, guys, for the CME group. We were at 70 point something % here a minute ago, and now we are actually at 69.4. So keep an eye on this today. If we see this 50 basis points start to come up here, and this start to come down for the 25 basis points, not a good look. So I've been watching these, and I'm also watching my 4-screener on the charts right now. I got the Dixie on the top left. I've got NASDAQ on the right. I've got the Bitcoin on the left, bottom left, and Ethereum on the bottom right. So I'm going to be watching these closely for the next hour on my personal space over here. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Matt C asked, sorry if you covered this. Are you guys gonna be streaming the Powell meeting? I didn't have any plans to. I know, we'll be hanging out in Discord. I have some things I got to get done this morning, but we'll definitely in our Discord be kind of chiming in about it. So anyone who's not in that Discord already, you're gonna want to go join. Again, click the link down below. There's an absolutely free version. There's paid versions you can get into with some more behind the scenes stuff. We've had, like yesterday, had a great behind the scenes, just a little call. There's a little voice channel in there on Discord. That was awesome. But even the free version, there's a lot of good things happening over there. You definitely want to be a part of it. If for nothing else, this Friday, again, that meeting with Ellie and Nachi, you do not want to miss it, especially those who have watched indicators. You've watched analysts talk about Elliott waves. And here's what I'm going to tell you guys. I've never once heard two people say the exact same thing about Elliott waves. I've always seen people disagree. Well, here's a trader who not only talks Elliott waves, he trades solely based off of it and is one of the best
And
traders I've seen
ChartPrime.
out there. Yeah, he uses ChartPrime, Elliott waves, and Fibonacci.
Yeah, he's
The
a ChartPrime
guy
member.
freaking kills it. You don't want to miss that this Friday, 3 to 4, only in our Discord, though. You got to be a part of it if you want to be in that webinar.
Do we have
Well,
a
it
guest
is
tomorrow, Tim?
it is great, great, great follow up there because it is 10 o'clock. So we are going to wrap up the stream. But our guest for tomorrow, our super guest Wednesday, he's going to join us for the first half hour, is Crypto Lifer. If you guys follow him, I know he's actually probably going live right this second as well. So he'll be going live during that Powell speech. But he's going to be covering some charts. He does have to run by 9:30, so we only have him for that first half hour. But it's going to be a great stream. Make sure to come back tomorrow when Crypto Lifer joins the show. With that said, though, that's all we have for you in today's video. You guys have a fantastic day. Those in the Discord, we'll see you over in the Discord. But the rest of you, we will see you tomorrow. You guys have a great day.
Bye, y'all.